Here we are, part 3. We are ready to build this thing. So we have gone over the goals, we've gone over the parts, we've gone over the weights. Now we got to put this thing together and see how we did. Am I going to build the ultimate marathon, downcountry, cross-country, do-it-all bike? Was this a waste of money? Was this a waste of time? We'll find out. But today we're going to build a bike, we're going to take it for a spin, we're going to see how it does, and that's it. So follow along, please. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, if you've enjoyed this series, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider doing so. I'd really appreciate it. Let's build a bike.
ideal amount of oil.
And there we go. Bike is built. I think she's looking real sweet, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Now, before we go and take the bike for a test ride, I think we should get a little bit of a weight check on the bike, just to know how we did. Now, again, as I mentioned before, this was never really meant to be a weight weenie project. The estimate was somewhere in the 27-ish pound range, 27 to 28, which if we end up there, I think I'm gonna be pretty happy with that, especially with these heavier aluminum rims, the bigger, kind of burlier, grippier tires. All that stuff down the road could be upgraded to something lighter if I wanted to. And there's definitely some weight to be saved here if I really want to. But honestly, I don't think this bike needs to be a weight weenie project, and as much as it pains me to say that. Even if I'm pedaling for a long period of time, comfort and stability are way more important than weight, ultimately, right? Especially for a marathon style riding, you're not really trying to go as hard as you can throughout the whole ride, right? That's where the weight might really kick in there. Again, having a 27-pound bike versus a 35-pound bike, I think you will notice that, but I don't think going from like 27 to 25 pounds is gonna make an enormous difference when you're out riding for a long time, especially if that comes at the consequence of grip or stability, right? So going with like a smaller fork instead of the pike or less grippy tires, yeah, that would make it lighter, but that sort of defeats the purpose of the bike. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. We're gonna get a weight on it, see how it did, and then we're gonna go take it for a nice spin and see how she rides. So, thank you all for watching. This sort of concludes, once we're done with this video, concludes the 3-part mini-series. Now, what I will say real quick is if you're interested in sort of like a cost breakdown and analysis, so everything, like how much I paid for each part that's on the bike, including the frame, you know, my actual prices, because I bought a lot of these things used versus what you could expect to pay if you bought them used or if you bought them new, and then to sort of maybe figure out whether or not this is worth it, right? So comparing it to some new bikes I could have bought that are sort of similar in build spec, did I actually make a good financial decision? Well, bikes aren't a good financial decision, but was this a good cost benefit sort of proposition given what I was trying to do and how much I spent on it. So if you guys would like a video like that, let me know in the comments down below. Just say, hey, yeah, it'd be awesome to see how much you spent for it and whether it's worth it or not. And I can definitely get that video done pretty easily because I just got to break down some numbers. So with all that being said, let's get a weight on this bike. Let's take her out for a spin. All right, so I got the scale all set up here, ready to go. It's not the cleanest setup, a little bit janky the way I have it rigged up here, but one of these days I will buy that Park Tool scale that like fits in perfectly with the stand, but that's a Park Tool thing that even I can't justify. So one day. Let's see how we did here. All right. Okay, make sure the wheels are not touching the ground. Okay, and we are at 28.1 pounds with pedals and sealant, fluids, all that stuff. So not bad, not great. You know, obviously that's 28 pounds. That's still on the heavier side of things for a downcountry bike. You know, you can definitely get some downcountry bikes in the 25 to 26 range, right? But I do think this is still pretty competitive given the build spec. And for me personally, given the fact that I already have a set of carbon rims for the highball, if you haven't seen that video yet, go ahead and check it out up here. I could swap those onto here if I were to do some sort of really long ride and to want to save about a pound of weight just in the wheels. So there is some weight to be saved here. 28.1 pounds in kilos, that is 12.75. So actually pretty darn close to my guesstimate that I had when I kind of totaled everything up. So that was actually pretty accurate all in all. And yeah, like I said, not a weight weenie build, 28 pounds, not super light, not super heavy, kind of in the middle, but I think this bike is going to perform just fine the way it is. That's the build. We're now going to go ahead and take the bike out for a nice little spin. Thank you all so much for watching so far into the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I'd really appreciate it. Let's go ride. All right, everybody. We are out here in beautiful Santa Cruz, California. It is an absolutely awesome day today, and we're finally putting the Santa Cruz Tallboy 3 to the test. So we built up the bike, and now the idea is that we're gonna try to figure out how we did. Did we build the sort of ultimate downcountry machine? Does it climb well? Does it descend well? Once I get a little bit closer to the top, I will give you my thoughts on the climbing ability of the bike. And that's it. So stay tuned. I'll see you in a few miles. All right, so I've been climbing for a few minutes now. I think I can sort of give some initial feedback on how the bike does on the climbs. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. I think the best way I can describe this bike is that it falls sort of between the two other full suspension cross-country bikes I've ridden, or downcountry bikes. So I've ridden my friend's Specialized S-Works Epic Evo, and that thing is an absolute, I mean, that thing just rips. It's also $12,000. So this is definitely not quite as efficient as that. However, I've also ridden my other friend's Tallboy 4, and he's got the sort of top of the line CC XX1 Axis model. And while that's undoubtedly going to be more towards the downside, as we discussed in a previous video with the geometry, I think this climbs better, honestly. It feels peppy. If I put power down to the pedals, it sort of scoots along and works its way up the climb. I've currently got it in the middle setting, and there's maybe a tiny bit of pedal bob, but it does soak up the chatter really well. If I go to the hardest setting, so locked out right now, I can genuinely feel a difference in that it feels more efficient, feels stiffer, obviously giving up a little bit of compliance, but it does make the bike definitely much more responsive than I thought it'd be on the climbs, as long as you lock it out. It feels like a pretty solid rear lockout when you need it. The fork, being a pike, obviously meant more for like trail riding, is definitely a little softer, all right, a little more compliant, which is good over the bumps. But if I stand up, I'm gonna get some bob from the front fork. So that's to be expected. If I had gone with a 120, maybe something with a lockout, obviously I would be more efficient, but then that's not really what I was trying to do. I was trying to keep it more fun and capable. I think the pike does that. This is gonna get me to the fun stuff, and I'm gonna enjoy getting there, which I think is kind of the point of a downcountry bike. So far so good. Climbing feels great. We are about a half mile away from the first little descent portion. So let's get there and then see how she does on some descents. All right, here we are, Old Cabin Trail. Our first sort of descent of the day. Nothing too crazy. Some roots here and there. But yeah, let's get into it. See how Tallboy does. Okay. Handling feels good. Good. Awesome. Woo! All right, that was good. I like that. Bike felt super planted. Brakes felt good, although a little lacking in power maybe. I don't know. I think Maybe I just need to break them in more. I did do a full bedding in process, but I don't know, maybe my bleed wasn't perfect. They don't feel weak, but they definitely feel like I need to kind of pull on them a little bit to get some braking power. So that's hopefully just, you know, error on my part in terms of setting them up. And if they, like I said, if they want a downhill race, they're definitely powerful. So probably got to tweak them a little bit. But, you know, fork and shock feel great. Frame feels good. Geometry feels good. It feels nimble. Yeah, that felt really good. Nothing too technical there, but, you know, a few roots, a little, you know, semi-chunky stuff. So let's keep going. Got a little climb here, kind of punchy and steep in sections. And then we'll have some more downhill to sort of test out. So yeah, let's keep going, baby. Phew. All right, here we are, Enchanted Forest Trail coming up. So this is probably my favorite trail in the area. And the first part's kind of the most technical. It's sort of like a roll over a boulder into kind of like a drop. And then from there we have some more root drops and it's just fun. So let's see how the bike does. Open up the rear shock all the way. Put the seat down. Let's give it a whirl. That was not the line. That's okay. There we go. You. Let's see if we can't get this right. There we go. Nice. You. Oh man, that is awesome. That bike feels so good. Let's do a second loop of Enchanted. And then maybe head down. I don't know, I'll have to decide which way I want to head down. But yeah, awesome bike, awesome day so far. Let's keep it going. Phew. 3 loops of Enchanted today. Second one, I didn't film as much because ran into some traffic and people were trying to get going, so I didn't want to bog them down with my filming. But that is 3 Enchanted loops on the Santa Cruz Tallboy. About to start my 3rd climb out of here. You know, I'm really happy with this bike. The brakes started to come alive a little bit after a little more use. They still probably, I think just it's more just a front brake issue. that should be the easier one to bleed. So I'm hoping just redoing the bleed and maybe, you know, cleaning the pads with some brake cleaner and wiping down the rotor. That should be enough to get it all operating smoothly. Yeah, I think all in all, everything feels really solid parts wise. Start with the cockpit, everything feels good. I like the bars, nice and wide. The carbon bars, man, they really do make a difference. Like my arms get less tired when I'm riding. I feel comfortable, sort of soak up the bumps a little bit, so no concerns there. I absolutely love this dropper lever, the wide action one. It's so easy to press, right? Just press it, you go down, you come up. And the dropper post too has really great actuation. And yeah, it just works really smoothly. The RockShox bike is super awesome, as I mentioned before. Yeah, it's gonna bob a little bit on the climbs if I'm really standing on it. But like right now, you know, I'm not climbing slow and it feels pretty rock solid. But then of course, you know, if I get up and pedal a bit, I'll get some bob. That's to be expected from a 130, especially without a lockout of any sort, right? Like, that's normal. The shock, solid. I did reach the limit of it with some of those drops back there. I did bottom out the shock. So probably just add a little more air to start with. But I mean, again, this is not meant to be a trail bike at the end of the day. That's definitely something to keep in mind when I'm riding. But all right, drivetrain, X01 Eagle feels excellent. My GX Eagle on my highball, that one came with the bike and the bike was used. So I wonder if it's maybe a little bit damaged or something. I don't know, because it just does not shift anywhere near as smoothly as this one. I mean, this one was used too, but yeah, this thing is just so smooth. Just, you know, click, 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 click. It's really nice action on the shifter. The gears are immediate. I have it set up well, but you know, I've set up my GX one the exact same, and this feels much better. So really happy with the drivetrain there. Crankset's a crankset. Wheels, you know, I've used these on the highball before. They're not super light, but they get the job done. Tires I'm happy with. The Recon at the rear, I think in comparison to the boosters, I still like those better. I do like the Recon. It does roll well, but I think the booster, despite being lighter and probably rolling even a little bit better, has more grip. So yeah, I really can't say enough good things about the Kenda Booster Pro. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it, honestly. Everything else I said, dropper post feels great, saddles, whatever. Everything on this bike feels pretty awesome. The whole thing, the whole package together feels really good. I'm happy with how it came out. I think it beats pretty much anything I could have bought for the price if I was going new. I think in terms of like quality of suspension, quality of components, it's hard to beat this build, at least for the price that I paid for it. Let's finish up this ride. Got one more little descent, and that's it. That's a wrap on the build series. Hope you all enjoyed watching it. I had a great time making it. Love the new bike. Hope this was helpful to someone if you're thinking of doing something similar on your own. And yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. I'd appreciate it. We've got more stuff coming up. If you guys have any video ideas, always happy to hear them. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to all of you who are subscribers. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, see you later.